Our other major story tonight is Hurricane Michael. It is roaring toward the Florida Panhandle and rapidly growing into a major threat. Landfall is expected tomorrow, possibly near Panama City, and 180,000 people are now under evacuation orders. So far, Florida, Alabama, and Georgia have declared emergencies. William Brangham takes it from there.
That's right, Judy. In advance of Hurricane Michael, the president today approved an emergency declaration for Florida that authorizes federal assistance for preparations and disaster relief. For more on this storm, I'm joined now by Ken Graham, director of the National Hurricane Center based in Miami. Mr. Graham, thank you very much for being here. Can you just give us the latest on this storm?
Yeah, we just have the latest information, and now we're at Category 3, winds 120 miles an hour with this system. So some strengthening as forecast. We're already about 270 miles southwest of Apalachicola. Moving north at 12 miles an hour, you can see a very healthy system with the eye in the center and some convection. So really looking at a system that is large, and you're already starting to see some of these rain bands work their way northward in the Gulf of Mexico.
In your sense right now, the track is still that it's likely to hit somewhere in the northern panhandle around Panama City?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. And a lot of the messaging that we're talking about is also about the size. So, you know, you're looking at landfall tomorrow afternoon, right on the upper portion of the Gulf Coast there in the Florida Panhandle. But this is an important point here. Look at the size of the winds. This is the tropical storm force winds, really looking about 185 miles away from the center, 40 miles away from the center is the hurricane force wind. So this is not just a center, and it's really outside the cone of these impacts. This is a large swath of winds making its way northward, and some of that could, you know, these rain bands could even arrive as early as tonight.
I understand that Florida is undergoing what's known as a king tide right now. Can you explain what that is and why we would care about that with regards to storm surge?
Yeah, really some of that tide going on just adds some more water to the whole situation, because when we really look at this, you know, we have the rainfall threat, of course, that we've been looking at, but look at these values related to your question. I mean, it's an amazing amount of water, life-threatening situation when it comes to the water. So if you take in those tides, which are already a few feet above what they should be, and then you add the storm surge on top of that, both of those numbers combined, 9 to 13 feet. Of storm surge. That's inundation above ground. That's absolutely completely life-threatening, and not just around the center and to the right side. Far away, look at Cedar Key, 6 to 9 feet, down towards Crystal River, 4 to 6 feet. As far away as Tampa, you can see areas of 2 to 4 feet, and even Pensacola, you can see those values. So a very life-threatening situation when it comes to the water. And by the way, 50% of the fatalities in tropical system is actually the storm surge. So that's what we need to make sure people are safe from, out of those risk zones.
I saw on the earlier map that you were showing simply the size of this, and this is likely to carry across the southeastern United States as the week progresses. Is that right?
Yeah, and it's an important point that you make there, because, you know, it's a situation that you have these large winds and you also have the rainfall. So all that rain could actually start saturating the soil. So even after landfall, as you know, looking at a very powerful hurricane, you're still in Georgia, a tropical storm. Look at this, in the Carolinas, still a tropical storm. So if you take all that rain plus that wind, you can see power outages very devastating right along the actual coast in the Panhandle of Florida. But some of those power outages could actually stretch into Georgia, maybe even the Carolinas with time, because saturated soil and the wind, you start knocking down trees and power lines. We got to get people ready. Some of these power outages could last well more than a week.
And lastly, your sense is that this forecast is pretty solid now. You don't see any real change in its track.
No, we really don't at this point. I mean, you're looking at the satellite. The forecast is really really on track, not only with the intensity, but also with the track. And it's interesting with the storm surge. You know, small changes in these systems can make a big difference on the ground. But as a result, you know, we really need everybody ready in these areas. And if you think about preparedness, you know, you're going to start seeing those tropical storm force winds arriving tonight. Some of the higher tides already arriving. So people need to wrap up their preparedness and be in a safe place by tonight.
All right, Ken Graham at the National Hurricane Center. Thank you so much.